Hi, I'm Winny. I also went by Trekker. I played competitive PUBG for 5 to 7 months on various different teams. Played in the APL, the Aussie Premier League, and was in IGL for almost all the teams that I played on. Alright, so PGI Berlin. For people that don't know, it is the biggest PUBG tournament that's happened so far. It had a $2 million prize pool. It peaked at 60 million viewers, which is insane. Most of them Chinese, only 440 for an English stream peak, but even that is 3 times higher than I've ever seen a PUBG stream at. So it's great growth. And this is kind of like why I'm bringing this up. PGI Berlin was so great. How did OMG do it? What was their strategy among the best in the world? And what worked? So here's kind of a breakdown. The 3 steps that they took to win. They utilized kind of one multi-part strategy. It helped minimize their own risk and maximize what they could get back for that risk. One of their main tenets, they play edge first and second circle, and almost all throughout the game. They will play edge unless there is some sort of advantage, which we'll go over later. They take circle advantages. On the 3rd circle, they either go to the position that will enable them to fight the best in that circle towards the center, or they will take a position kind of near the center that has some sort of strategic advantage. And they do that knowing after the 3rd circle, there really aren't that many shifts. You won't need to go very far. I think normally they really only have to rotate once past enemy teams. I only saw them rotate past enemy teams like once or twice the entire tournament. So they did a really good job of keeping safety as their main goal. And victory. Obviously, because they retain their utility and their meds, because they aren't fighting earlier, they keep players alive. There's no risk for most of their players in the 1st and 2nd circles. There's no scouting, yada yada. They play very safe. And that pays dividends for them late. Having all those people alive, having that great team fighting ability. And we'll go over kind of how they, in particular, team fight. It works great for them, as well as they're great characters. Alright, so PUBG is about adaptation through hard information or passive knowledge. Hard information is kind of the easy one. It's kind of what you see, it's what you hear. It's the information you're directly receiving from the game. Passive knowledge is a little bit harder. Passive knowledge could be knowing that a team likes to rotate on a certain path, or knowing that a team likes to play a specific compound. You can kind of take that a step further and go to general and kind of say, these are the patterns that I've seen in PUBG games. How do we use those to an advantage? So one example kind of like of a passive knowledge competitive PUBG concept would be playing the passive side of the circle, which would be going to the side of the circle that had the shift go towards it, and which was the least close, or the furthest from center on the previous circle. So you know that because there's going to be, you know there will be less player density in those areas because they weren't in the center of the previous circle. So if you're thinking, how'd they get so many kills with such a passive early strategy? Because they got a lot of kills. They got 54 kills on their top fragging player. Let's look at their positions. What are they doing? So in the 1st and 2nd circles, like I said, OMG likes to take positions that play our edge. But they also like to take positions that give them rotation options on circles and give them kill opportunities. Here's an example of Game 8, which is the last FPP game of the PGI Berlin FPP. And they're waiting for Na'Vi. They loot around here, and they know that Na'Vi is the only team that loots, or they loot from Mars. So after kind of looking at the rotations, previously in the tournament, I assume, OMG just took the opportunity to, take some shots, see if they can get a kill. They don't actually end up getting a kill in this situation, but you can see kind of like where their brain is at. And then I also kind of showed where the various rotation options were. They have a free north-south rotate, they have free center rotate, essentially, because you can scout from here on these compounds very safely, and I think that's actually what they end up doing, is they scout here and then they move in along this line. But you can see they have various options. and information on a lot of those options, or you know, they wouldn't hard commit, but they would definitely play for a little bit of information before they did any of these things. Here's another example of them taking a position that gives them rotation options and kill potential. Everybody hates Lily mainland splits. They're the worst. I empathize with people who have to deal with these two right now, and they do a great job of it. They're taking the bridge position. Everybody knows that's a strong position. They can rotate either side very easily, and they're looking for kills. It would have been very easy for them to say, okay, well, we loot here, we're just going to take center circle mainland. And I think that a lot of teams, good teams even, would do that. But their strategy is different, and I think it has a lot of potential. Oh, here's an example of OMG ambushing Ghost, actually. They were on the far west side of the circle, and you can see they're attacking Valak in the bottom. They actually get this knock on Valak. And Ghost keeps rotating. They're probably assuming, okay, we're good now. Like, they're up there, we can still rotate, we're safe. It sucks that you died, but whatever, you know. It's worth it for the sacrifice. But actually, because of OMG's crazy split, this guy takes shots, or Zauhai takes shots on Purple Prophecy, forces them to stop on the right, and actually ends up cleaning them up, which I didn't expect when I was watching the VOD. But, I mean, great for them. They have some players that can really frag out, and that they took a ton of control with this move. And I think it's actually kind of like a key point of their gameplay, is they will weaken or turn away teams on the side of the map that they want to play, and kind of use that to their advantage, and use their early game to enable their fighting late game. That's a strong concept that I don't think many people use in PUBG. So yeah, OMG refuses to be flanked. That's another really big concept. They're always in positions where their backs are clear. They either utilize natural features or information, or they'll wait for like Na'Vi or something to go back past them. So here their loot position, very good in proximity to the circle. They see this, they're probably like, oh, nice. And instead of kind of playing like their normal hard edge, like maybe out here or something, they do something different, and they take this. And I really like it, and I think it is very still in sync with their normal strategy. They just are using the water, putting it at their back, can't get pinched from this position. I mean, they have one guy on this compound, two guys in this compound, and like one guy kind of, I think he just went there and just scouted that position. And yeah, they're just, I don't know, center circle with a natural feature at their back to kind of give them a way to fight more easily if they get in trouble. And yeah, I think it was a great intelligent adaptation. This was kind of what happened to Ghost in one of the previous games. I think I showed you a clip from game 5 or 3, I think, and this is game 7. So you see them employing similar strategy. I think they actually hit Liquid a little bit when they're going for this strategy. But anyways, they like love to keep tabs on the nearest sitting teams, so they're keeping tabs again on Na'Vi. They were fighting here, they waited here to make sure that Na'Vi went past them. And here, kind of them not enabling a pinch. So this is again slightly different. It's on Miramar. It's harder to play for long sight lines and stuff at times because there's so many defilades. It's easier to get stuck up on, in my opinion. So they do something really interesting here. Kind of like the water on the last slide where they were using the natural feature at their back. Here they're using the smaller hill, and they're taking two different sides of it. They're taking a ton of different angles. This guy's looking this way. This guy's looking like this way and this way. This guy's looking this way. This guy's looking this way and this way. And they just have great information and control on this one hill. So they're kind of using this one hill to serve as a buffer from anybody else coming on, and they really try to get their own territory and make sure that they're not in a position where anybody can encroach on their territory, at least without knowledge. Just again, them taking an edge position. Really wanted to hammer that home. So find advantage. So this is their kind of second step of the circle. So we can take a look at game 3, the second of Erangel, to see like the classic OMG game plan. They control rotations, position to enable multiple rotations and gain information, and they tag high ground on passive circles, or passive sides of the circle. And they play for a really dominating third circle position, whether that be, like I said, high ground, or whether that be kind of like a center defilade. They didn't really go too much for the center defilade, except for when they went for rocks on game 8. I found that they much more stayed on the edge and tried to play from there. They love having something at their back, whether that's blue or some kind of natural landmark. Okay, so here's a concept that they use a lot, and kind of how I was talking about, they use the blue. They're always, almost always, like perfectly spread. It's very impressive. You'll see them playing, you'll see them fighting. They're always in a line so that they can take multiple angles, and they'll always have somebody riding the blue to stop enemies from wrapping them and getting angles. They're very supportive in their gameplay style. Nobody's going to be caught out very hard, especially because Lion KK is usually taking the lead. He's a very cautious player, and they just don't take more than they need at any one time. They're very measured in their gameplay. And you can kind of see it. Navi, WTSG are using similar strategies. They're kind of keeping one back, and making sure that they're able to fight anybody that might be running alongside them, or making sure that nobody could get behind them, whether that be a snake or a flanker or whatever it is. And then one more thing to note is on this third circle, they're in a position that was near weak side, because the circle was over here, and it has high ground. So they actually killed 4am up here because they had a great spot along this, or a great spread along this ridge. Here again, you can see them taking high ground and taking kind of like a passive circle side position. See, they're from the farthest point. Their blue had to go the least position, or the least distance. It's typically a very common strategy in competitive PUBG to go to the weak side, because you know there are going to be less teams. Their plan actually doesn't work perfectly here, because they have 2 teams coming up behind them in the blue, which is, I'm sure, something they didn't expect and were not very happy with, because they came in essentially with the blue here. But they're able to clean them up because they have the positioning, just superior fighters. Oh, one more thing to note, they will fight teams very aggressively for the first kill, and then after that, they'll instantly make sure that nobody is coming up behind them. You'll very often see Lion KK get it down, and then run to the opposite side and look the opposite direction and make sure nobody's coming up. They're very opportunistic. They're not going to overreach. So kind of last step, victory. OMG's ability to isolate sides of the circle, they know have less pressure, or come in passive side, and kind of force teams away from the places that they're trying to play, is just very effective. They have fantastic team fight control. They're always constantly spread. Teams can't really encroach on them very easily, and they can't really be flanked because Xiaorong is always holding the back. Xiaorong is always holding the back. They usually use utility to stop pushes too, so that's another option in their bag. And they're very consistent. That's a major contributor in PUBG to success, and especially to succeeding at the highest level. You are never going to win a tournament without being incredibly consistent, and their strategy of not losing players first and second circles, and then being very good team fighters and using that team fighting and some advantageous positioning to their advantage really just makes them a powerful force to be reckoned with. In this game, this is when they denied Ghost the northwest side of the circle, and we kind of just saw what was going on. So they came in the northwest side, which is weak side. They run into only 2 teams in the entire northwest quadrant. That's pretty good, honestly. You see all these other teams. I mean, there's 3 or 4 over here. There's 5 or 6 over here. Maybe this side didn't get hit up very often or very hard, but that's because this is such an effective position on gating this side of the map. It's really not an option. And they just do a good job of eliminating the teams on their side and making sure that other teams couldn't come to their side. OMG, they dominated at PGI. They got first in FPP, and they did very well in TPP as well. One thing that I thought was interesting was the amount of smokes used. They only used 30 smokes versus Team Liquid's 84 and WTSG's 63. That was surprising. I have found that higher level teams use more smokes, but it could be due to their kind of more passive play style. They're less often in the middle of things. They're almost always using something at their back, so maybe they don't have to use smokes as much, because smokes are kind of an all-around, like, I'm in a bad spot. I gotta throw it, you know? Maybe your cards don't enough. But I think OMG is gonna continue to do well in the future. It's honestly hard to argue with Lion KK. He had 54 kills, which is double the next highest fragger's amount of kills in PGI. That's insane by itself. And then he also has this insane backup in the form of Zhao Hai, who has 24 kills, which is only 3 under the top fragger in the tournament. And you look at their FPP, and I think they're the 2 top fraggers of the tournament. So OMG's strategy of safety, their fighting ability, and honestly their intelligent adaptations, I think will keep them at the top of PUBG for the foreseeable future, at least 6 months. They're a fantastic team. They performed incredibly. I'd love to see what they could do with a little bit more utility. Maybe they would have done even better if they had some more utility plays, but they impressed me a lot, and I hope to see great things from them in the future. Congrats to Liquid and WTSG as well for doing so well in this tournament. Especially congrats to Ghost, who I think they were the top FPP team from NA. We can look right now. PGI Berlin standings. No, wait. Yeah, they were, right? FPP, Ghost. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, Ghost was first. Clearly, Honey Badgers. Good stuff. 7th. I hope you guys do great and continue to do better. And yeah, that's the video. Thanks very much for watching. I hope this was informative. Feel free to drop me a follow at twitter.com/winnypubg. Feel free to drop any ideas that you have for videos in the future in the comments. Thanks so much.